Hi everyone, it's Kylie from Kylie's Card Craft. Thought today I'd show you just how to make a little pocket. Great little pocket for your junk journals. Little just pop in, little bit of, let's face it, we've all got lots of extra book pages. We go into these books, we love our book pages, and we end up with a pile of them. I know I do, I'm assuming you do too. How can we start to get rid of some of these bits? We rip them out, we use our little words for them, but we still end up with piles and piles and piles of book pages. Here's something quick and easy that I thought we could all do just to get rid of a few of our book pages that look great in our journals. So when they come out, I'll show you a page that I'm in the process of doing at the moment. So with my journals, I do altered books. But what you can do with them, so here are my pages ready to go on. They're just stained up with a distress stain, either in the spray or in the daubers still. This will go on here like so. I plan to stamp a few things on this. This will sit in here like that. So I've got my stamped image, I've got my pocket. Now my pocket has an old piece of newspaper about the Titanic, which I've then aged. It was just printed out on normal copy paper so that I can age it all up and it'll match in with my journal. So just a quick and simple way to do these little pockets. Okay, let's get started. And they really are so easy. You can make them till the cows come home, really. What we want are 2 pieces of book pages. You can do them with one, let's face it. Do them with one, fold him up, but then, I don't know about you, I like all my wording up the right way. Now this one, I've actually covered most of my wording, but I can still see down. If I hadn't have put this there, all my wording would have still been there, but it would have been upside down. So to get them up the right way, 2 pages. One this way, one this way. Once they're glued, what you'll find is that this is now up here. Makes them a little bit more stable as well. So all we're doing is with our glue sticks. Again, book pages, I've got my old ones that I use to do all my inking on and my gluing. So just very quickly, I use the blue glue just so that I can see where I've been. I'm getting old, I'm getting forgetful, so I need to see where exactly I've been. So just give him a good solid one. Make sure you go right to the edges, because with this one, for my journal, I need to actually cut him down shortly. So remembering, up the other way. Matching this one up, I tend to go for my straight corners first, just so that my words will all match up. Gives you a little bit of wiggle room when you're using the glue sticks anyway, just to stop some of my fingers getting too gluey. Now, as you can see, I've got a little bit left over, but so you can see that it doesn't quite match in there. For me, I'm not too concerned about that because I'm going to trim mine down. So now I've got my wording going up the right way, that way and that way. What I want to do is just trim him down so that he fits in my journal. So this would have been the page like this one that it would have been going on. So as you can see at the moment, it's way too big. So all I'm going to do is just trim him straight down, take him right to the wording, swinging him round, taking him back over to where my words start. Doesn't have to be a specific size. Everybody's journals are going to be different. As long as he fits to what you want, you might want him to take up all the page. You might want him to just be a little narrow one. Let's say we want him to be a slightly narrower, thinner one. We'll just trim a little bit more off. So all I'm doing is matching my top and my bottom to my lines. I know they're straight. Well, I'm hoping they're straight. Right, so here's my book page now. This is going to come up like so, but I don't necessarily want just the plain white book page. Let's agree it's a Reader's Digest from not that many years ago. For me, I like my vintage. Now you could cover this with some pretty paper, some scrapbook paper, paper you've made, whatever you like. For me, all I tend to do is use my distress inks. I'm using my brushed corduroy, and I like to use my blending tools. So I'll just sit it over here. This is just a mat that'll allow my brush to go across properly. As I said, I have used book paper. If you don't have a mat, a silicone mat that'll allow everything to be wiped up, just use your paper. It won't glide quite as well, but my word, you'll get through with it. So it's just a matter now of changing your book. So all I'm doing very quickly is using my blending tool. When I start on the edge. Don't start in the middle. What are we not going to see? Not going to see this bit down here. So if I start in the middle, when I go through it, I will still always end up with that circle. It's just the nature of the beast. Always start on the edge and work your way in. You're going in little circles, starting over, tipping him back a little bit and working your way. Oh, I'm hoping you can see this. I haven't actually checked to see if I'm in shot. I don't need to do this bit down here because this bit is covered up that way. So I want to make sure my top is done. And then what I want to do is turn it over and do this section, because this is the section I'll see when I turn it up. Now you could always fold it first. That way you'll see exactly where you need to cover. I tend to do and hope. Keep my fingers crossed all the way. It is only paper. If I don't like it, if I haven't done it the right way that I want it to be done, everybody can do it whatever way they like, but if I haven't done it the way I want it to be done, chuck it away. I've got lots more of them. So turning him over, that's about where I want him to go. So I want a nice big pocket here. I'll give him a crease. Now I can use bone folder. I've got one here somewhere. There we go. To give him a nice big crease. What I like to do from there is just give that a little bit of an extra edge. Now I love my inks. I tend to do everything with my inks. So what I'll do from that is I want to give him a little bit more oomph. And I'm just going to go straight this time with my ink pad. This time I'm using Walnut Stain, which is a darker brown. And I'm just going to go straight onto my paper. Now, if you're ever doing this, don't run it down like that. Paper will cut your hand. Now your skin's fairly tough. Imagine what it's going to do to your ink pad. So when you're doing it, roll it slightly. So can you see how that's just rolled? The further over you roll, the more ink you will get on your paper. If you want just a little bit, then it's just this. If I put a lighter piece behind that, so now you can see where this edge is. For me, as in like this one, I like lots of grungy. That's just me. If you don't want to ink around your edges, don't. It's your book page. It's your journal. It's your card that you're putting it on. It's your scrapbook page that you're putting it on. It's whatever you want to put it on. But it's yours. So don't think just because I'm inking, you need to ink as well. It's wholly and solely your choice. Right, so now I've inked all that. What I want to do with this one, move my good page. I need to make this into an actual pocket. So this time I'm actually using Express It Power Tack. I found it's a good white wet glue. I'll just check that I've got an edge coming out. Yep, occasionally they stop up here, bit of a pin in there and you're fine. So this time, back to my scrappy piece. So what I want to do is go from the crease down. From the crease down on both sides, which will then make my pocket. Now, as you can see, I'm never very straight. It's still fine. So what that will do, again, now just folding over, pushing him down. Because I end up with glue all over my fingers all the time, I just have a cloth that I reuse and reuse. It's just an old bed sheet. Once it's dead, I chuck it, start another one. Basically, there's your pocket. It's done. Now, if you want, you could round your corners. Again, ink around it. If you've inked everything first, you could round your corners. Let's say we want to round our corners, just to make it a little bit different. So now I've rounded my corners. Let's go on to a bit of white again. You can see that I've lost my inking. So back out with my ink pad, going round. Now it looks like it's always been there. So for me, I want to just put something else on here. Now, I could put the paper. I could put an image. Admittedly, that one's a bit too big, but for me, I like my stamps. I love stamps. I have a real thing for stamps. So let's just go with this one again, because I'm going to make another one of these ones anyway. Again, it's just a piece of copy paper. So I need a piece that's going to fit in there. I just line it up with my lines to start with. You can see it's all crooked and all the rest. I know this edge and this edge are straight. I reckon if I'm going to go about there, make sure that fits my stamp. Beautiful. I can always trim it further down later on. Yep. And so now I want to go round about here. I never measure, just mark. So now we want to go onto that pencil line again, sitting him on your grid. Use your grid, it's there. If you don't have one of these, just one of the craft mats that you can pick up in your $2 stores, at scrapbooking stores, etc. Can't find mine at the moment. Oh, it's over there where I had the heat gun going. So, no, it's too far away. Show you in another one. I always use that when I'm using my craft knife. And it's just a little one just to take my blade. Right. So now I've got my little piece that'll fit my stamp. Again, I don't want that colour on there. So for me, you can use lots of things. I could antique linen, get that, or the distress stains, which are also the distress sprays. I like the distress range. I find that I can do just about anything I like with them. Now these were just straight distress stains. When they first came out, they had little daubers on them. Nowadays they're called distress sprays, and if you like, you can just put them in little containers with the spray. Makes life so much easier. So again, on my mat, it's easy to clear up, and I'll just give that a little bit of a spray. That's all I need. I will pick him up and wipe that so that I don't sit anything else on. If I've got a little bit too much sitting there, I can always pick that up. So what I've got now is a piece that's going to match in with there with my vintage look. Now I might find that I've still got a bit too much white on there. I can either sit it back on and spray it, or I can finish it off with a little bit of ink just on the edges, just to take away a little bit of that white. There's so many things you can do with your inks. Don't be afraid to use your inks, but just remember what inks it is that you're using. Now I want to stamp on this, so I'm going to use a permanent archival ink. The distress inks are water reactive, so I just got to, if I went to use a distress ink now to stamp my image, because this is still a little bit damp, it would make my image bleed. So for me, when I'm going to use my inks, and I think I want a coffee, so I'm going to use the archival inks. So they're a permanent, they're waterproof. So with this still being just, and it's literally only just a little bit damp. Now you can either hit that with a heat gun, or you could just give it a little while. I'm usually doing something else at the time, so I tend to just leave them to dry naturally. It is freezing here today. Good old Geelong. It is freezing. We have lots of rain coming through, so our heater is going flat out, which is, yeah, warmed the room up quite a lot, but not 100%. So it's going to take a little bit longer. Middle of summer, this will be dry like that. Now for me to stamp on this, stamping mat. You could use an upside down mouse mat. What it'll mean is that you will get a better image than stamping on something flat. If you've got a stamping platform, any of the stamping platforms, you'll find that they tend to have a little bit of foam in them anyway. These are great, don't work for wooden stamps, or don't work if you're working on your full journal page and it's bigger than your stamping platform. So for me, I've still got a lot of wooden stamps because I've been stamping forever. So I'll just sit him on here. As I said, I'm using permanent ink. When I ink up my stamps, I take my ink pad to my stamp. What it'll mean is that your stamp is sitting flat. So when you ink it up, you're getting an even surface. If you take your stamp to your ink pad, what happens is that you miss things. So everything might not be completely aligned. Okay? When you ink up, don't do that. We all want to do it. We just want to go like that. What happens is that it fills a lot of the detail of your very fine stamps. So you're always far better off, sit your stamp down, whether it's a clear stamp, whether it's a wooden stamp, whatever, and take your ink pad to your stamp. My ink pads are starting to get a bit dry, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a press. Okay, turning him over, make sure you're directly in shot, lining this up, lining this one up so that I'm even all the way around, sitting him down. Because, as you can see with this stamp, there's lots of fine detail, so I want to make sure that I get all that detail in there. So, holding with one hand, pushing down with the other. Don't take your hand, both hands off and give it a good whack. What you'll end up with is your stamp will slightly move. You might be after a blurred vision. I don't know. I'm not. But if that's the way you want to go, go for it. Okay. So an up, there's our image. Now for me, finish off, how about we put the lid back on the glue, because that'll always help it. What I want for this one, I like that darker image going around. So this time I'm going to go brushed corduroy. Tends to be my most used colour for my journals. Lifting it up and just very lightly this time. So you can see I'm still doing my little circles. A bit more ink. But I'm not going all over the page. So all I want to do is just my edge. So what you'll see, if I put that on a piece of white, so you can see where I haven't done it, you can see where I have. So what it gives is that real fine little edge, just to make it, give it a little bit of pop. So back through with all this, and down, and through, and then holding him down. Always put your lids back on your inks. So there's that. So now when he sticks on, you've got that. Ready for a pocket, ready for a tuck, ready for anything you like to pop in there. Now, as I said before, it could be in a card. You know, you've got your pocket there. This pocket is glued, it's tight, it's all sitting there. Now, if you want, let's say we wanted a letter of some description in there. Let's see if we've got backgrounds. Here we go. We'll very quickly make up a letter. So it's just a script stamp. There are lots and lots and lots of script stamps out there. This one I've been using for, 2003. I think I bought it new in 2003 when it came out. Love it so much I actually have 2 of them, just in case I lose one. You never know. Right, so we want to make a little bit of a letter. This letter's not overly big, so what we're going to do, again, going to stamp in my coffee to make him stand out. Taking that 2, and I'm going to stamp right to the edge, because I'm going to trim this down. Okay, I'm going to join my letter up and make a full sheet of script. Roundabout. That's the only problem with wooden stamps. They're very hard to align. Going down. I just want to make a full sheet of script. So one more. And over. Okay, so I've got a full sheet of script there now. What we're going to do with it, we want to age it a little bit. So tear a little bit of the top off. So all we're doing, tearing away. We might tear the bottom as well. What do you reckon? If I don't like the torn look, I can always just trim it back off with my trimmer. All right, so I've got this now. What I want to do with this is make it just a little bit aged, remembering I stamped in a permanent archival ink, so it's not going to get affected whether I spray it, whether I ink over it, splatter it, whatever else. It's not going to get affected. So what we'll do is I'll very quickly go over. I think that might have brush corduroy on it. Every now and again, wipe your mat, because if you've had a darker ink on it, it'll pick up that darker ink. You might be going for that. Right, so now you can see I'm using big circles because I want to go all the way in to the page. Okay, I don't want the whole thing uniform, I suppose would be the word. I want it to look a little bit blotchy. Remember, I'm going to age this. So, very quickly, I'm hoping you can see that. Was I way off screen? Sorry. Let's just come back to screen. Promise I'll get better. We'll learn as we go. Right. Where do we want to go? In the centre. Again, if I'm going into this, see how I've missed this bit. I said before, don't put it down there. and go out. You'll end up with a circle. So what I'm doing is I'm starting right on the edge and then working my way in so that I end up with my flat piece of foam towards the centre. Okay, so now, all right, there's a piece of white copy paper that it was. That's what we've now got. Once again, I like my edges. So I just want to make him look a little bit older. Now where we've got torn edges, it really picks up the torn edges beautifully. Gives it that nice dark feeling through there. Up around there. Now the other thing we want to do is, my letter wouldn't have come flat like that. It would have been folded. So let's fold it in threes. Doesn't have to be straight. All right, so there's my letter. If I then refold those that way, and again, I'm not re-inking this, I'm just using the little bit that's left on there. I want to give it some crease marks. So you can see this time, all I'm doing is just lightly going up. So you can see now the crease marks. So all of a sudden, your letter starts to look older. Doesn't look like it was straight copy paper. And now it's starting to get somewhere. Okay. It might have originally been folded down there as well. Let's face it, I've got this section here, so back again. Doesn't mean that's the way you're folding it in your journal, but you don't know what size envelope they had to start with if it was a real letter. And the whole point of this is to make it look like it was a real letter. Now that's awesome. I like that. But one problem. When it's folded, it's still plain white. I don't like that. You might like that. You might like that. If you like that, go for it. Me, I don't like that. So I'm going back to my antique linen. Getting rid of my brush corduroy. And I'm just going to lightly go over. So yes, you can see that the sprays are quicker, but with the sprays you need a little bit of drying time depending on the weather. So, and for me, I just find that this is relaxing. I know it takes a long time, and I've had girls complain before, oh, it takes so long, how are we going to do this? For me, it's relaxing. I can sit here and blend, covering my paper while I think of other things I want to do to my journal, what I'm having for tea tonight, what time I've got to start putting tea on and leave my journal. There's so many other things that can go through your mind. Now, we're just going to lightly do this. I just want it a little bit patchy because I'm thinking... Okay, so again, if you're looking at it and you think, oh, I don't know if I've done too much. If you get another sheet of white, plain white copy paper, you'll see you've got. If you want more at that stage, then it's always good to have that test piece that's just there so that you can see what you've done. Makes you feel better as well because you can actually see that you've done things. Right, so now I'm going to do the same. And just give my creases a little bit of extra colour. Down with this one. Over with this one. And going around my edges as I did with the other one, just to give them that darker look. as though it's been in grubby hands, it's been floating around in the bottom of an old suitcase. Oh, look, the stories that this letter could tell if it was real. It's not real, we've just made it, but what we've done is make something. Ah, we had that other crease there, didn't we? Because they had a really small envelope. And all of a sudden, you've got a really old, cute. Now, this is completely dry, by the way. Okay, so we can just ink him again. Not ink, glue. That's what we're looking for. This one. As you can see, I have lots of mess on my desk. If I clean it up, can't find it. So, all right. So just a little bit of glue. Again, I like my blue so I can see that I've been there. Eyes aren't as good as I used to. Down on this one. Over with the dodgy piece of cloth. Now, I got that. Got that. I like this, so I'm going to tuck it that way on an angle. Now, we could finish there. We could put something else across here. We could go to a dictionary page. Let's have a look. I've got old dictionaries, I've got new dictionaries, because if I'm after a specific word, then let's have a look. Whether they're going to be in my words or not, what do I want? What would I like for this one? I'd actually like apothecary, but I don't think it's in there. It's not in there. My old dictionaries don't have it. Well, that's a pathetic little book. All right, so what other word could we put on there? I know. Let's just go M. Memoirs. Right, so all I'm going to do, I found memory, which is memories. I'm going to pull out the whole thing. Well, I don't really want menace. All right, and from that, we'll just chuck that down there. Right. So I've just got this. All I've done is torn around it. Again, back to my inks. Make sure I get the right one for my antique linen. Now this time, it's a little bit harder to go round like so. So all I'm doing is scunging off my edges. Scunging, is that a word? It is now. All right. Just to darken it up a little bit. You can see I've already still got glue all over my fingers, even though I used my cloth. Might want a little bit of dark around there, because I've now picked up my brushed corduroy one. There's not that much ink left on it, but there is a little bit. Right, so again, we're going to glue him. He's glued. Move the glue one away. Right. There we go. How's that? Now, next time we'll put it in our journal. So we'll finish off our journal page. I actually like that one better than my first one. I like that. That's what we do. Each time you do them, they'll come out different and you'll find something else that you like to do with them. So my letter, it's all done. Next time, what we'll do, is we'll start to put it in our journal page. So mine's going on this side, either one. Oh, this will go over here, like so. But as I said, we're going to stamp all these, grunge all this up. This one's going in here. Tag I've already made for this one in here. This will be stuck down so that it's a pocket. All right, till next time. Thanks everyone for watching. See you next time.